This is Ep.4 of the Guerilla Filmer podcast. Made it to another episode, y'all. We're going to keep this thing going at the bi-weekly schedule, posting every Sunday evening, every other Sunday evening on a bi-weekly schedule. And things may change in the future, depending on how things go moving forward. But right now the bi-weekly works, especially with everything that I got going on. So we're gonna keep it going like that for right now. It works, and we're just gonna keep it moving. So another episode 4 on the Guerilla Filmer podcast. I'm proud of myself. I'm keeping this thing going, sticking to my word. Almost got too busy to get this recording in. Flying to Dallas for the world premiere on the festival circuit for my film, The Reaper Man. So I'm looking forward to that. I haven't flown in over 10 years. Last place I flown was to LA. And getting on that bird flying because I refuse to drive from Jackson, Tennessee to Denton, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas. Usually when I drive, I'm with quite a few people, but my driving days are over with. If it's more than 4 to 5 hours, I'm probably flying from now on. So, I'm just gonna have to put the little extra bucks back and stop penny pinching when it comes to that, and and get that going. But anywho, today we're gonna kind of flip the script a little different than what we've been doing. And on this episode, I'm not gonna hold you as long as I have the prior 2 episodes. Kind of getting in here and running my mouth. But this episode we're gonna talk about mostly just how to balance the creative side and the business side. The creative side and the business side of making a film, because it really plays an important point into which way you're trying to go. So what is it, what type of film are you trying to make? And the creative side and the business side, taking all that into thought when you're making your film. So what's your goal? Is it a passion project? Is it something that you've been having on your heart, and you're just trying to get it out there? Are you trying to make money and get as many eyes as you can on it? What is it that you want? Passion projects are usually they can be successful. Don't get me wrong, but it matters what type of project it is. If it's if it's something that, say you want to make, you got this romantic comedy that you've been wanting to make. Generally, in a space, talking from the business end, romantic comedies and stuff like that, they can do well. But a lot of these, more common, genres, it's so many of them. So people are just looking for somebody they recognize. So indie film, it's kind of harder to get that off the ground. A comedy is kind of harder to get off the ground. And I'm going to talk about certain types later that you can make and kind of, help you better. But from my experience, when you're in the more popular genres, drama can be hit and miss. Romantic dramas, romance films, um, comedy. Some people may have different, here and there, but a lot of times you see the indie no name joints have a harder time, making that recouping the money or just making any type of noise once they get out there in the marketplace. So you want to think of that before you even start typing that script out. How am I going to market this film? Um, how am I going to put this film out in the world? How am I going to break through the noise with this film? And these are thoughts that you want to make before you start. If you had an idea that's burning in you, before you start pecking on that keyboard and writing that script out, putting all that time into it, kind of set yourself up, for success on the front end by asking, how am I going to market this? And if you have that question answered, go ahead and type that script out. Just have that plan so that you don't doom yourself before you even start. And I've done that on quite a few projects where I still had the old time mindset that it's an indie film. If I make it good enough, it'll catch fire. Thinking that the quality or, and quality is subjective. I'm thinking it's good or decent. Somebody else thinks it's crap. So you can't depend on that. And, not knowing where you want to talk about that film or take that film, you kind of doom yourself before you even start. So you want to think of that. I've had, so many films that I've written that I didn't use that method. That if I had of on the front end, I would have done something else. I would have went another way. I would have made another film because I have a few that are just sitting there stacking pennies right now that we've worked super hard to make. And it's just, if I had thought of that question instead of saying to myself, if I make this good as possible, people are going to talk about it and it's going to kind of, gain a life of its own, which is not true. Not anymore. It's not like that anymore. When I made my first film, it's called Hardman County. And I've spoke about this before. Terrible film, but it was my first. It was a learning experience. And to be honest with you, I could probably put that film right now on Tubi and make some good money. That exact same film that I feel is horrible, I could put it on Tubi and make some money. My second film, Betray, which they are about the same length. They are technically, I don't know what you would call it. They're too long to be short films and too short to be technically features. They're both in about the 50-minute mark. But, Betray, I made that movie entirely too fast. Dealt with some issues with my editor and all that. I've talked about that before. And that film is, the heart is right, but it was amateur. We're all growing. We're all getting better. And that was, my second film. But even then, right now, I could probably put that film on Tubi and make some money. Both of them, my first two films. I probably could make a crap load of money off of those films compared to the ones like Closed Caption, Checklist. Closed Caption and Checklist are my two worst performing films. And I could probably take those two, which are obviously worse, and make way more money than those. Check mark that point. I'm going to talk about it later. But what I'm trying to say is, don't just write the script and then come up with the plan of how you're going to market it. Save yourself the trouble and think of all that beforehand. You have to. Who am I going to make this film for? How am I going to promote this film? Do I know who to promote this film to make sure it's successful? What's going to be my, my plan? What's going to be my gimmick to get the word out there? What trend can I attach this to? What niche? All of these are questions that you have to ask yourself before you even start. Because we as creatives, we want to write. We want to get that idea out of our head. We want to make the best film possible. And we don't think about the business side of it. We don't think about how we're going to get our money back. We don't think about how we're going to get people to see it when there's a billion other films out there. And at the time, like talking about Hardman County again, this is what, 09, 08? I can't remember when exactly we started. But I was getting great reviews from it. And, then like the indie scene wasn't popping like it is now. Nowhere near. So, people were impressed. They were like, you made this, like by yourself. You made this and y'all did this, man. This all right. People actually enjoyed the film. But if I put that film out right now, it'll get ripped to shreds. Because being indie, being low budget is not an excuse anymore. In 08, 09, early 2000s, being low budget will get you forgiven on some stuff. Oh man, it's just low budget film, but it's, I'm still in it. It still got my attention. And people would tolerate it. But now you have this influx of content. It's everybody's making a film because it's so much easier to make one. So you have to separate yourself from the noise because it's a lot of noise, or you'll get lost in the void, kind of like checklist and closed caption. And if I had thought of that, like with closed caption, for example, and I feel like I've talked about this on a prior episode, but if I have, all these points matter, so you're gonna hear it again. But it was a short film competition in Memphis called the Memphis Film Prize. And this is when COVID hit. And I had wrote this short script basically just for that competition, to go for it with this competition. And of course it got postponed and eventually canceled, kind of like I saw coming anyway. Before COVID, I kind of expected it not to last too long in Memphis anyway. But with this short film, after it got canceled, I was like, I got this script. It's a pretty cool idea, something I've never done. I'm just gonna turn it into a feature. That's me. I didn't have, my summer was wide open. This was when we were scheduled to shoot The Sticks season 2. And I kind of saved myself, or COVID saved me from myself with The Sticks season 2, because looking back at it now, it was way too ambitious, way too many characters, way too much going on. I would have stressed myself all the way out, as I did with the first season, because I have short-term memory. I forget everything I go through that quick. But I was like, hey, let's just make this feature. Casted it. And we made that when Hollywood was shut down. We got out there and we made a feature film. Never thinking about who is this going to be for. And I'm going to talk about the audience later on. So remember what I'm saying about closed caption. But I just thought this film is going to be good. It's going to be funny. People are going to watch it. Word of mouth is going to get out. It's going to gain some legs of its own. Because I haven't seen, anything like this on an indie level. And, I was dooming myself from the start because I'm still thinking, I'm just going to put this out there. It's going to be good. People going to see it. Oh, this is an indie film, man. Y'all look, check this out. Well, and it doesn't work like that. It's already a stigma on indie films. I'm thinking you kind of have to remind yourself that people it's so much stuff out there. People are not going to waste their time on something that's iffy, they don't know anything about, they don't realize or know any people in it. It's just the way it is. If you're scrolling, you're going to either stop for a cool poster with a nice title, and then you're going to read the synopsis. I don't know about this one. Then you're going to keep scrolling. Then you might see somebody you know, like Eddie Murphy or something. What is this? I'm going to keep scrolling. And then you might see Nick Cage. I've never seen this one before. But it's a Nick Cage movie. I kind of like him. He's crazy. Let's see what it's about. And they passed by your indie film, didn't even stop. They just kept scrolling because they didn't recognize nothing about it. Because the noise is what's killing indie film right now. Indie film is kind of devouring itself because everybody's making movies right now. And you can't hate on that because everybody who truly wants to make a film, if it was their dream, they're able to do that now. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse. So how will you catch that eye? How will you catch that scroller when he's looking through? What will make that person stop on your film, click it, give it a chance? Because none of us have budgets to go out there and just market it like Hollywood. We can do it a little bit, but nobody has budgets. So you're relying on that one little piece of luck. And it all goes into that marketing beforehand. How am I going to market this film? How am I going to grab your attention before you even start writing a script? How? And you got to have, alongside with that, once you grab those people, you got to keep them. You got to keep them in your corner. Behind the scenes stuff, social media. You almost now you have to. And I'm a person, I have to force myself to post. I get on there and scroll, but as far as me being the person posting all the time, it's not me. I'm not a social media influencer or nothing. But I almost have to force myself to get on there and make content because building an audience is important more now than ever. Or did I say that right? It's now more important than ever. You know what I'm trying to say. You have to get on there and at least try. Because we don't have Hollywood funding to get the word out. You gotta get on there, use your hashtags, and you can't spam people. You can't get on here spamming these groups. It's ineffective. You just got to get on here, meet people, and be effective. Reaching people who want to follow you. What makes somebody want to follow you? I saw online the other day somebody, a tweet. Somebody was saying, this is one account saying I like cheese, and they go viral, like the stupidest stuff ever. You out here making content and doing this and that, you get 1 or 2 hits. Can't explain it, but you have to put forth the effort, and you have to document your journey for people who are interested. You have people who are interested in indie film who do love indie film. It's just finding those people behind the scenes, constantly making content. Behind the scenes, hiring a behind the scenes person is one of the most important things for a small film, because it keeps you with content to keep the word going as you're, once you make that film, as you're editing and getting people excited to see what you got. So you have to continue to, feed that. It's a content game. And having a behind the scenes person, it's really helpful to keeping that up, because you have to build your audience. I mean, even if you're writing a script, make a page for it. Talk about what you're doing, talk about your process, start getting people excited, getting people, and engaging with those people who are engaging with you on that page, and just continue to build. You have to think, as a creator, most creatives, we just want to create, but you have to think with that business hat. You have to build a following. You have to build excitement for your project. It's the only way. It's not just going to be a passion project that you're going to see with your friends and family. If you're going to give it a chance, you got to give it a chance from the jump. Because afterwards, you're going to be almost to that point of burnout and exhaustion to, you know, trying to catch up and do all this. You're going to wish that you had started doing it from the jump. How are you going to market this film? And going back to my first two projects, you know, why I say they probably will make money on Tubi. Like right now, you know, a lot of people are kind of using that method without even knowing it because they're sticking within a certain niche. They're just naturally doing that. And what I mean is Tubi right now, although a lot of people are clowning on it, Tubi TV right now is one of the highest paying platforms for independent artists. Unless you got a great distributor who's getting you contracts on cable networks or a great deal overseas, you're not going to get the type of money that a lot of people think we're making whenever we got distribution deals. And Tubi right now is the best paying site. You got Amazon, who's, if you do get Prime status, they're only paying you 1 cent per hour. 1 cent per hour. I've made, just to put that in perspective, I made $100 this month from Amazon, and I think I had, I want to say 50 or 60,000 streaming minutes. I don't know how many hours that is, but it's not much. You're not making a lot of money on Amazon right now, as big as a platform as that is. I'm hearing people who get on Netflix, and Netflix is giving them under $20,000. And to somebody that'll sound good, but when, you know, big old Netflix only cuts you a check like that, and that's probably on the higher end of it, and you've made a film that was twice that in budget, is nothing. So you have Tubi, who pays you, even though it's free, they pay with ads. Sometimes up to around, I've heard $7 an ad. I've heard as low as $1 ad. It all matters on how popular your content is on the ad ratio. It's a whole bunch of crap with that. It's a whole different story. But independent films are doing great on Tubi right now. Even the bad ones that everybody talk about. Because Tubi is serving a niche, which is Black content. And, you know, if you want to go deeper into a niche under that, you know, kind of like what made Tyler Perry such a hit is he knew his audience was Black women. Black women didn't have a lot of places to go see these shows. So when Tyler Perry came out, he just soaked it up. Gravy train. He's a billionaire right now because he saw something under developed, and he had content for it. So, you know, me being a Black filmmaker myself, you know, I can naturally think of Black stories because I live it. So when I write, you know, I try not to, me myself, you know, when it comes to the hood movies and all this, I try to stay away from that genre because it's just so oversaturated. But, you know, in my mind, it's oversaturated as far as those type of stories. In the greater scheme of things, it's not oversaturated at all. That's why it's doing so well on Tubi. Although you see hundreds of them on Tubi, almost all of them are doing good. Because if you were to go and search HBO Max or anything else, maybe Snowfall, You probably still find boys in the hood here and there. Like it's very minimal. So, you know, some of these filmmakers, although they probably weren't thinking that, and they probably were, they're making a killing right now because they're serving a niche that isn't been getting served. It's been hungry for a while. So when I made something like closed caption, thinking that, hey, I can make this film and just put it out there in the world and the world will grab onto it. I'm not thinking of how there's a whole lot of comedy out there. I don't have anybody, in this film, no offense to my great cast, that somebody across the world or even across the state would know. So they're just gonna keep clicking by. Now, if I'm on there like, man, I want to see a good movie, and I'm looking for me a good crime film, black crime film, hood movie. Oh man, all these look good to me. Let me see. Let me stop. You don't know nobody in it, but just because it's in a genre that you want to see and there's not much of it elsewhere, you're gonna watch it because it's an underserved niche. So when you're writing that script, you have to think that way. What is something that you're passionate about? Skateboarding? You could probably make a great skateboard movie that does well. I haven't heard of too many of them out there. Most mainstream movies are broad brush. It's a comedy about this, a comedy about that. It's not anything specific about it. And you have to get specific. And you might reach a small number of people, but that small number of people, and I say small, which I'm saying a couple thousand, but if you have a passionate couple thousand, it's way better than a couple hundred here and there hit and miss over time, just a couple hundred that don't really care about, well, let me see what it's about. All this sucks. Turn it right back off. You want to find a niche and you want to drill it while you can to be, with lack of better words, to make sure that you set yourself up for success. And you have to take your hats off to some of these folks on Tubi. They are getting the chance to put their film out there and make money because it hasn't been, an option here of late. Amazon started out, they're all about supporting indie film. Then they started wanting to compete directly with Netflix and start cutting more indie films off. And I get it. It's a paid service. People are paying for quality content. They don't want to see trash film on there. So, Amazon is going to be like, all right, you're paying for this. We're going to curate it a little bit more, and make sure that we kind of weave some of this stuff off. Whereas with Tubi, it's a free service. You're not paying nothing to watch it. You just going to see a couple of these ads. So Tubi is like, give me all of it. The more content I got, the more ads I can place. And right now, a lot of Black filmmakers especially eating good. And when I say eating good, nobody's getting rich. But when you can make a couple thou wow on your work, when you were making pennies, $50, $70, $100 a month, that is a success. You're doing good for yourself. And people talk bad about them, and trust me, I know it's some terrible movies on Tubi. And when I say terrible, I mean just editing, acting, like you can tell they just don't care or just don't know. But they have to build somewhere. You have to get money to hire better actors. You have to get money to hire better equipment, to hire better DP. You have to build somewhere. And when you're not making money and you're coming out of your own pocket and you can only get your best friend up the street who's been wanting to act instead of, this other actor who's, got credits and more serious about his craft. you, you're going to deal with that. But you got to build it somewhere. And we're, on Tubi making money. And, usually some of these people, when they put a second film out, it's better, it's better, it's better. But what's happening is just kind of starting to be so much of it to go through. But, even then, it's still underserved. Like, you will never find movies out there on some of these other platforms that you find on Tubi. And you have a lot of people in that genre and that niche that are looking for that type of content. And you have people, these movies that go viral, and you have people who actually love that type of stuff just because they're seeing that representation. So if you're vegan and you never seen a vegan comedy or something, and you decide you want to make one, and somebody else who's vegan just scrolling through, and you see something that hits you, you don't know who it is, but a nice cover, it must be this and this, a vegan chef, blah blah, this and that or whatever, and you read and you see it's in something that you're truly passionate about or interested in, you're going to watch it, you're going to check it out. And sometimes that's all you need, just for them to see the first couple minutes, and they'll stay for the long haul. And you have to think about that before you even press a single key on that keyboard. How are you setting yourself up? Is there a niche that I can directly market to? Is there an underserved community that I can make this film for? You have to think more as a business person than a creative. And when you get the budgets to make whatever you want to make, you can put that creative hat and just make whatever you want to make and market it however you want to market it. But right now, when we don't have money, you have to go with the flow and do what you have to do to survive. And that's one reason why horror has been successful for me. So I've been going back to horror here recently. And a niche that's even, deeper than that is black horror. You don't see much of it. You don't see much of it. So me, when I'm doing my projects now, I'm already thinking of that. Who can I promote this to? All right, I got this black horror film. I know all these black horror blogs, black horror groups. I know exactly where I'm going to market that film to set myself up for success. May not succeed, but I have a plan. I'm not just out there like, what am I going to do? Kind of like I was with closed caption. You have to set yourself up for success. You have to think of that way. You have to think of a niche. Do you love basketball? Are you a former basketball or baseball player? You know some former baseball players that you can probably call up to help you in this movie. That's what you need to be writing your movie about. Because if you hit it with a broad brush, you're setting yourself up for doom. It needs to be a niche within something. If you want to write dramas, think about, okay, I want to write a drama, but what kind of drama can I size it down to and market it directly toward a niche? What kind of comedy can I, I may, what, anything. You just have to think of a niche or something that you're passionate about that will keep you involved mentally in that project. Because if you don't love it, you're going to give up on it. As soon as you find any restriction or resistance against that project, you're gonna bow out because you didn't love it in the first place. You were just thinking of the money. So you still have to keep that creative side happy and that business side in mind. Think about it. Write the story you want to write, but think about how you're gonna market it beforehand. Don't doom yourself before you start. And if I had a thought about that beforehand, Closed caption would have been a lot more successful. Checklist would have been a lot more successful. But we live and we learn. And hopefully somebody hearing me ramble on and on this podcast can use these tips and save themselves that trouble. Because if I had heard this beforehand, who knows? I'm kind of bullheaded. I probably still would have made the film. I probably still would have made it. But I wouldn't have been able to say I didn't know that information, I wouldn't have had that excuse. But now, seeing how things are going, and Tubi is not going to last forever. Tubi right now is where it's at for independent filmmakers, and I wish that more of us would take it more seriously, improve our craft, take more than one take, actually spend the time on set to make sure you get the best that you can get. I know it's not going to be perfect. We're all low budget. I understand more than anybody. But try your best to get the best that you can get before you decide to put that project out. I know going viral, I know at the end of the day, going viral even for the wrong reasons, you still making money because more people gonna click it to laugh on it, and a laugh still equals an ad, and the ad still pays. But you want to continue making films. You don't want to put that reputation out there as a horrible filmmaker. And all of it starts from the foreground. Write a good script, make a good movie, have a good marketing plan. But with that marketing plan, you need to have that marketing plan. It needs to be conjoined with the creative side when you're about to write that script. When you're banging out that outline, you need to be thinking, oh yeah, this is the type of person that's gonna like this. This is where I'm going with this. Write to cater to those people. Whatever that niche is that you're passionate about. I should have named this Find You a Niche, because I've been talking more about a niche, more of the second half of this podcast. And I'm hitting on 40 minutes. I said I wasn't going to talk as long as the other two, but I just want to reiterate. Right? Before you even write, think about who is this movie for? And you will set yourself up for a better likelihood of success rather than answering that question after you've wrote the script and filmed the film. Because by then it's probably going to be too late and you have a passion project that nobody's going to see because there's so much other stuff out there catching everybody's attention. And these black filmmakers out here, I don't know if they thinking that or they're just making what they know, but consciously or unconsciously, they're killing it and they're geniuses because at this moment, a lot of black content is underserved. But be genuine to you. Make something that you're passionate about. Don't use that advice that I'm saying and go out there and make a film or a hood movie and that's not you, because it's gonna reek and it's gonna suck. Just to be straight up with you. Make something you're passionate about. You're passionate about karate. If you know karate, don't go out there making a karate movie and you don't know anybody who knows karate unless it's a comedy. You have to make something you're passionate about, but keep it with the business hand in hand, thinking about how am I going to get this film out here. And you can't, when you think of that from the jump, I got this idea. I already know who I'm gonna get this to. I already know where I'm gonna focus this to. I already know the type of community group this is going for. You have a plan, and when you have a plan, you got something to build off of, because it's too much content out there. And you have to find a way to break through that noise. If it's a certain noise I like, I'm going to hear it over all the rest of the noise. If it's a certain noise I got a taste for. So just keep that in mind. Let's get out here. Let's improve. Let's study our crafts. Let's write better scripts. Let's get on set. Let's have fun. But in the midst of that, let's take our craft seriously and make better films. When that film is made and you're in the lab at home or wherever you do your editing, take that thing seriously in there. Take the time and carve out a good movie. And make something that you're proud of. Let's not just think about the bag. The bag is nice, but you want to love what you're making. So at the forefront, if you're making something you love, but you're also not neglecting that potential to get a bag, and you marry it together, you got a project that's gonna be good to you, and you're gonna love it. You're gonna be good to it. You're not gonna get tired of promoting it. And that's all I gotta flap my mouth about today. A little bit all over the place, but it's still some good information. You take it. You take it. I just gave y'all some good nuggets. But as you see right there, Succuba, that little poster that's above my left shoulder to y'all. It's out on Tubi, Plex, Amazon Video, and Apple TV. If you're on Tubi, you're a Tubi lover, it's free. Go watch it. I'm proud of that film. It's out right now. This other one that you see right there, Reaper Man, we're about to go premiere it. It'll be out this year as well, so y'all look out for it. And that's a classic right there. Pulp Fiction is my favorite film. That's why you see it back there. But I'm gonna get on up out of here. Got a little work to do, a little writing to do myself, but I already got my marketing plan for this particular film. Practice what I preach. And we're going to continue to make good films. So until next time, this is the Guerilla Filmer Podcast, Ep.4. We made it to 4, y'all. Next episode, I'm going to kind of go a little bit more left field. And I'm going to talk about support. The idea of support. And I'm kind of looking forward to that podcast episode. So if you're seeing this on Facebook, follow the page, share the video, tag somebody who might need this information. Tell them, hey, look at this guy running his mouth on and on and on. He might have some stuff you need to hear. If you're on YouTube, you can do the same. Subscribe, share this video around. Y'all help a brother out. Let me get these numbers up so that I can continue making content for you. So I can get a little bit better setup, some cameras for this podcast, get some guests in here. And, so you ain't got to just hear me, subscribe, get on that button. The engagement matters. And let's let this thing grow together. And until next time, I am Dron Lockridge. Hit me up at all my social medias at Guerilla Filmer. It'll be somewhere on the post. And I will see you next time. And get out there, create, edit, and repeat, as they say. And I'll see you next time. Deuces.